Texans in the middle of a lot of rumors, a lot of controversy, a lot of reporters saying a lot of different things. Plus, Stefon Diggs goes down. Titus Howard walks off the field. Is there anything to be worried about? We'll also take a trip to Ohio, talk to Cody Stoots. Here's another edition of The Locker Room.
You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop.
All right, we'll get out to Ohio and give you the latest on Texans practice in a second. But first, I want to start by addressing the rumors that won't go away. And quite frankly, they've been around for a long time. This is the Justin Simmons reporter battle, as we call it. And by the way, this video is powered by BetUS. If you want to get in the game, check out the link in the description. You can get a plus 125% up to $2,000. So shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this portion of the video. Justin Simmons, should the Texans sign him or shouldn't they? I think there's a really interesting way to look at this when it comes to Justin Simmons and whether or not the Texans should or should not sign Justin Simmons. I look at it this way. If you look at the safety position and you look at where the Texans are at the safety position, what's been the most exciting story out of camp with the Texans? Like in regards to the safety position. And by the way, Calen Bullock today with a pick six of Davis Mills. So he continues to flash and make plays. And I think he will be making plays this year. I just don't think he's going to do it in a starting role, at least not early on, unless called upon due to injury or whatever. But the most exciting story right now has been Jalen Pitre. Jalen Petre's playing nickel. And we don't know whether that's going to look good. We don't know whether that's going to look bad. But Jalen Petre's playing nickel. He's doing what he did at Baylor. I find it hard to believe that good coordinators aren't going to find some way to take advantage of Jalen Pitre if he's lined up on a receiver in the slot, but who knows? But let's just pretend that Jalen Pitre is thriving at the nickel position and he's doing his thing. The next question becomes, and Matt Burke is insistent that the Texans like their safeties, and we'll hear from him in just a second, the defensive coordinator for the Texans, but do you feel comfortable with Eric Murray as your starting safety? That's a real question. I like Eric Murray, and I used to despise Eric Murray because of the way in which, in the offseason in which he arrived here. I now think Eric Murray is a good depth guy. I think Eric Murray is a guy that can help you in 2 out of 3 phases, but I don't feel necessarily comfortable with Eric Murray as the starting safety. It's just me. Might just be a me thing, but I don't feel comfortable with Eric Murray as the starting safety. Now, can Jalen Pitre, do they end up putting him at the starting safety? Don't know. But at the safety position, I don't feel comfortable with that. And that's just half of it. You look at the other half, Jimmy Ward, who was in another physical bang type of play today. We'll get the latest on that. Jimmy Ward has not been able to stay on the field. So even if you feel good about Jimmy Ward when he's on the field, Jimmy Ward has not been able to stay on the field. So you got to worry about that. How much does Justin Simmons have left? A lot of people are asking. How good is Justin Simmons? I'll say this. Even in the worst case scenario, and let's say Justin Simmons is not what he was a couple years ago when he was last an All-Pro, second team All-Pro. He's probably better than Eric Murray and Jalen Pitre. I think we can all agree on that. Let's hear from Texans defensive coordinator Matt Burke. He says what he should say about the safeties. Here's Matt Burke talking about the status of perhaps the most talked about position on the roster at the moment.
Yeah, it's been great. I actually think Jimmy's had like a really good time up here. Just starting to sort of show up and sort of impact plays more. Peachy's been really good. Like, it's just the same thing. I mean, I know I feel like I broke a record sometimes, like the depth that we've had. Calen's been had a pretty good game on Thursday night and has really shown up, like ranging the ball and playing more physical. And then the kind of two vet guys we have in the room with E. Murray and MJ, like, man, we've been mixing those packages a lot. Again, trying to get guys in different spots and trying to get guys against different competition and whatnot. So I don't know what rumors you're talking about, but like I feel really good about our depth, and all those guys have been kind of growing in what we're asking them to do. And like I said, I feel like even a guy like Jimmy like is starting to like sort of show up. I feel like he's kind of a forgotten man sometimes. So Jimmy's been making some plays the last few practices and starting to he's on the come a little bit. So feel good about where that whole group's working.
All right. Yeah, he says he doesn't know where the rumors are, and I believe him. I believe him, but what's he supposed to say, right? Like, is he supposed to go up there and say we're worried about our safety position? I just find it very, very hard to believe that you feel comfortable here with Eric Murray as a starting safety. I didn't feel comfortable with Eric Murray. I don't think there's ever been a moment where in a non-emergency situation, I felt great about Eric Murray as a starting safety. I think he's a good football player. I think he's better than maybe we reacted to when they brought him in 2020. But starting safety, I'm surprised he's still on the team. I'm glad, because I think he's a good piece. Now, do I think Justin Simmons is, Charles Haley from San Francisco to Dallas, or Reggie White from Philadelphia to Green Bay, or DeMarcus Ware from Dallas to Denver? I don't necessarily think it's that type of impact, but I do think if you don't have good safety play, all of your plans can just get completely effed up. I think they could just get completely effed up. I think you can overcome a lot of things. I don't think you can overcome poor safety play. I really don't. It's helpless. I mean, just go look at the most embarrassing loss the Texans had last year. I know CJ was out, but you look at the safety play in the Cleveland game, that Jalen Petrie ended up getting benched. You can't have that. So best case scenario is Jalen Petrie has some unrealized potential and he ends up being a quality starting safety. Jimmy Ward stays about as healthy as you would expect him to, and Stewart and Bullock and whoever else is ready to fill in whenever he's not out there. But I don't think we can rely on that. Now, maybe they like Calen Bullock a little bit more than we're letting on, but I don't know that we can necessarily say that. We've seen Calen Bullock make some plays. We've seen Calen Bullock struggle in the preseason. He had a pick six of Mills today in practice, which is great. But if they like Calen Bullock, wouldn't Calen Bullock be a little higher up on the depth chart? I mean, we're seeing him run with the twos, but we've seen Kamari Lassiter and Blake Fisher. We've seen them immediately running with the ones. Now Tunsil's out. I don't know that they feel comfortable putting Calen Bullock up there a ton. I think eventually he's going to turn into that. I just don't know that he's ready yet. Rock WP, shout out to you, man. That's one of the best Twitter follows, by the way, as far as like aggregating and talking Texans and hyping it up. You can feel his spirit. I really don't like when he flexes, though, and shows off his workout regime. It makes me feel like a dad bod POS, but is what it is. Shout out to Rock WP. He says Bullock will start over Murray by week 3. You might not have a choice. I mean, you might not have a choice if you don't have the depth. I mean, the chances are that, I mean, it's most of these guys that are second on the depth chart are going to start some sort of game. But if he's starting over Murray by week 3, what does that mean? Like, what are you saying? Are you saying that you believe that Bullock's going to be that good, or are you saying that you think it's inevitable that Murray's going to struggle? I think that's kind of the question, because you're already, on one hand, you're probably excited about the rook, and we saw how excited they got in the war room when they took him, which is great. But on the other hand, you're already dismissing the starting safety. So, that's kind of like when Deshaun Watson and Tom Savage had their battle. And it only lasted a half, but people said, well, he'll be starting by week 3. Well, that's because you knew Tom Savage sucked. So what are we saying with the Eric Murray thing? would be the question. Shout out to Mike's book reviews. Indeed, thinking about those 20-plus chunk plays given up last year makes me wonder why the hell they aren't jumping at the Simmons possibility. Maybe they like Bullock eventually. I just don't know that it's a position where you can kind of tread water. I think you can sprinkle the fairy dust on linebackers. I think you can sprinkle the fairy dust on DTs. I think you can do that. I just don't think you can do it at the safety position. Just don't. But we will see. Might take a year or two. Shout out to BH. Might take a year or two to be really, really ready to contribute to a champion level team. We'll see about that. Speaking of the rookies, and it is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. We're getting near 10.4K. I want to get to 10.4K. I want to get like 12 before the season starts. Maybe I'm getting a little bit greedy, but the Texans digital game, it was bare when we first started this a little less than 2 years ago. It's increased. I think I have over 900 videos that I've posted. So I've averaged over 2 a year, and that's while hosting the top rated radio show in town. So I've always been consistent in this. Obviously business is picking up, but I need you guys to ride with me. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. There's no days off. Oh yeah. I also had a kid, bought a house, all that in between. I'm not saying that to flex. I'm just saying I'm posting consistently on here. I'm just asking for one little click. Damn, that was begging. Yes, I do think CJ will play on Friday. Cam Akers, RB3. Here's the thing about RB3. Ideally, you probably want someone that's going to play special teams. I don't see any scenario where they quit Daria Gumbawale. I don't see any scenario. So the question would be, do they keep 4 running backs? Because Dameon Pierce right now is RB2. Although I would like to see Pearson. I'm just saying I would like to see Dameon Pierce. I would like to see Dameon Pierce. That's a damn shame. 200 people, 20 likes. Come on. But I would like to see Dameon Pierce and Cam Akers both get equal reps just so we can see what the hell that looks like. Because the reality of it is that we don't know what Dameon Pierce looks like. We know he looks trimmer, but we know he was unplayable last year. The Achilles thing is done. Like the Achilles thing is done. Thank you very much, Bobby, for the blessing. Appreciate you, my friend. Speaking of blessings, dietology. Shout out to you, my friend. I feel like Titans are not a threat, but a problem. I get exactly what you're saying. I think that's really well said, actually. Some people might say, what exactly do you mean by that? And I think this is a perfect time, and I think you kind of alley-oop me into talking about the Bet US odds. I'll get this out there. Shout out to Dietology. I appreciate you. Right now, you look at the odds right here, the betting odds to win the division. And by the way, if you want to get in, there's some crazy props. Derek Stingley's 125-1 to win to win Defensive Player of the Year. 125-1. If he stays healthy, there's a chance that happens. Now, that's a big if and that's a big but 125-1, you bet $10, you're winning 1,000. I mean, think about the way that you spend $10. Bet US also has the betting lines. They got them on the Bet US website. The props are crazy. Right now, you can use the code in the description, and you'll get a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Be sure to check that out. They pay you quickly. They got the best odds. That Derek Stingley's crazy. And if you look at these odds right here, when you say not a threat but a problem, I think that's well said. Because I think a problem is like a team that perhaps you split with during the season, and maybe they just bring it so much that it's not like a team that you just completely walk all over. Like there's no team in this division that you just walk all over, especially if you have Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons and they're doing their thing on the interior of that defensive line. I think that's kind of scary. Also kind of think their running back situation is underrated. Don't trust the quarterback. But I do see what you mean. They could be I don't think they're a threat to win the division, but I do think they could be a problem. I think Jacksonville and Indianapolis, I think they are threats. It's going to be close. Last year, you could have got the Texans at damn near 10-1. Now it's even money. So that tells you where the expectations are. If you want to get in that game, go to BetUS, and you will get plus 125% by using the link in the description. So that's just kind of how I feel about it. I think it's going to be a big it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be an underrated division. I don't think this division gets much respect. But yeah, shout out to Tony Tate, man. Says, I'm a big Colts fan, but I love your show. Appreciate you for getting the pulse. If you're trying to get the pulse of what's going on with the Texans, this is the place to come through. I'm scared bleepless of the Colts. I think the Colts are a really good squad. I think the Colts are getting kind of slept on. I think the Texans, obviously, if you put a gun to my head, I'm picking them to win the division. But I mean, crazier things have happened. We saw what happened last year. I think y'all got a hell of a coach. I think y'all got one of the best running backs in the league. I think it's going to be fun. This is not a Colts love fest. This is just awesome. Shout out to German Texans. Greetings from Germany. Shout out to you, my friend. We going global here. Appreciate you for coming through. I also heard Simmons is on the Colts radar. Would hate for him to go to someone in the division if we don't get him. Yeah, that would mean that Simmons and Diggs signed in the division, two safeties that were on the market that play a position in which you maybe aren't that good at. It'll be interesting to see what they do there. It'll be interesting to see what they do there. What's up, P. Dizzle? Patty says some handicappers are enthusiastic about the Titans. Yeah, I mean, look, when you're betting year-long props, even money isn't that fun. I mean, if you're going to bet like year-long props, bet on the Texans to get to the AFC Championship game or bet on them to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, year-long props and waiting for even money on a year-long prop is no fun. The Derek Stingley 125-1. I mean, open a BetUS account and put $10 in right now. And if Derek Stingley stays healthy the entire year, he's going to be in Defensive Player of the Year conversations. Now, that's a big-ass if. That's an Andre the Giant, Shaq, Yinkadare type of if. I don't disagree with that, but 125-1 for a guy that, by the way, Derek Stingley today. Derek Stingley had 2 interceptions today. Not one, but 2 interceptions. We'll talk to Cody Stoots about that in a sec. But Derek Stingley had an interception first while covering Tank Dell, which I think this is his 3rd interception while covering Tank Dell. And then he had 1 covering Nico Collins. Now, why do I think this is significant? Because Tank Dell is kind of one of those little shifty, explosive receivers. And Derek Stingley's been going toe-to-toe with him. I mean, stride for stride. The first interception was just an over-the-shoulder, perfectly read. I mean, he was almost running the route by the time. It was almost like he was baiting CJ into throwing it. And he caught that one. Other one, he kind of jumped on it. And then today's, we'll get the description from Stoots. But if you look at the biggest threats to the Texans, and we'll go outside the division. Like we're not looking past anyone, but we're going to look past some folks. Baltimore, who's going to be their top receiver this year? Zay Flowers, small explosive receiver like Tank Dell. Kansas City, who did they bring in this year? Who are their receivers? They got Hollywood Brown and they got Xavier Worthy. Small, explosive receivers. So Derek Stingley seems to like those types of matchups. I don't think he shies away from anything, but it is nice to see that, I mean, he's got the speed and the instincts to keep up with Tank Dell because that's a hell of a lot easier said than done. Hell of a lot easier said than done. I don't see a way Sting can win Defensive Player of the Year. Don't bet it, but it's 125-1. You bet $1 and he wins it, you win $125. You bet $5, you win $625. And I don't see any way that Stingley stays healthy for an entire season. If I said that I felt that, I would not be reacting on anything that is actually happening in front of us. We're creeping up on a half decade of him not being able to do that. So I understand that. But if he's on the field, if you could go back and treat the NFL like NFL regular season like Madden, and you could go to the settings and you could turn injuries off then I think it's safe to say that Derek Stingley would have a chance to win Defensive Player of the Year. And the other thing is this. If you're talking about like making prop bets on the Texans, like what's the other thing that stopped the Texans from getting a lot of shine outside of functioning like a dog-butted organization? What's the other thing that stopped them? They always had noon kicks. Last year they had 17. Even in the golden age of Gary Kubiak, there was always the running joke, oh, they're going to be the Saturday noon game in the playoffs. And it was true. They got 6 primetime games this year. They're on every single platform. They're on ESPN. They're on NBC. Hell, they're even going to be on Amazon. And they're going to be on Netflix. So there's going to be primetime opportunity for the Texans. You're going to be seen. You give me 125-1, let's eat. Let's see what's going on. Why the hell not? More reminders to like the video. Scary moment in practice. BH just brought it up. Jimmy Ward, physical guy. Very physical. We'll get the play-by-play of this from Cody Stoots. But aggressive Jimmy, he hit Stefon Diggs, and Stefon Diggs he was kind of down on the ground for a while. The boots on the ground description was it looked like it could have been ribs. Ended up leaving the field. And as soon as he left the field, there was all kinds of, oh, Jimmy Ward, you need to get his act together, blah, blah, blah. Diggs ended up going back out there. So just a little bit of a scary-ish type of situation. But he ended up being okay. We also had Titus Howard walk off the field. Broker came in there at right tackle. Look, this is inevitable. Titus Howard is staying healthy. It's almost Stingley-like when it comes to Titus Howard being healthy. We've already had him go to the tent twice in camp. So we didn't anticipate, just because of the money, that the Texans would be in the market for a tackle. They ended up taking Blake Fisher. The initial reaction was kind of confusion. But now, as time's gone on, and as you've actually seen this kid and the fact that he's ready to immediately be the starting left tackle when Laramie Tunsil's out, I love this pick. I think it might have been the best pick of the draft for the Texans. And I like the Lassiter pick too. But eventually this is going to get to a point where you're going to save a hell of a lot of money, and it's going to make it a hell of a lot easier to pay CJ Stroud whenever you decide which tackle position Blake Fisher is going to start at. And by the way, Blake Fisher, good news for him. He returned to the field, left practice yesterday briefly, but he was right back on the field. Which brings me to interesting rookie development. And this is a development inside my mind. People want to suspend Jimmy Ward. Goodness gracious. Can't be suspending him. But this is my rookie development. And I don't know if y'all feel this way, but this is just how I feel. Like when the Texans first took Blake Fisher and they first took Lassiter, I looked at it as perhaps these guys are looking at this as kind of young, developmental freshmen, like in college. Like perhaps a red shirt, get them ready, might not think they're ready to start immediately, but eventually these guys turn into what you think. We've seen now that the Texans they're in a position where they trust Fisher to fill in for Tunsil. They probably trust Fisher to fill in for Howard. And when I saw that Lassiter and Fisher were out of practice, I almost looked at it as, damn, you can't afford to lose those guys. Which is wild, right? Like we're 3 weeks into camp. And maybe it's an overreaction. Maybe when the games happen, you don't feel this way. But whenever I saw that Blake Fisher was banged up, I was like, damn, they can't afford to lose him. They can't afford to lose him. because they're going to need him. Tunsil isn't healthy, and Titus Howard's gone to the tent twice. And he's looked pretty good. And he's far from a finished product. Lassiter, that's your starting corner. I mean, we were talking to Kuda or Henderson, who's back on the field. But Lassiter, that's your starting cornerback. That's CB2 right there. So when you look at these situations and you look at where the Texans are when it comes to the rookies right now, pretty damn impressive. Just the natural instinct whenever you hear that these guys are out. I'm impressed with it. Very much impressed with it. And it's a good thing. Also a return, crazy Jake Hansen. He returns. You know you can't keep that crazy dude out. Had that collision in the preseason opener. I don't even think he saw the guy when he ran into him. Just a hard collision. Kind of looks like a meathead. One of those dudes. Like Jake Hansen looks like a guy, and I can guarantee you, whenever he was in college, he definitely went to class carrying a water bottle. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. I got to hydrate. Yeah, it's workout. I got to go to my second workout after this. Wearing like the sleeves and stuff. You can't keep that meathead down. Hell of a special teamer, that Jake Hansen. Right back there. Also good news. Danielle Hunter. He returns back on the field. Danielle Hunter is back. Was wondering if it was a veteran off day yesterday. That's kind of what it ended up being. So got him back. I would not get rid of Titus Howard. Let's see if he can play. Again, just getting banged up. He's fine. I gotta ride him out for at least 1 or 2 more years. Pause. But you gotta ride him out because you can't just get rid of him. That would be wasting money. But I do think Fisher is starting. If I put the over-under at 3 games, which I'll take the over-under or exactly. How many games do you think Blake Fisher starts this year? If you told me 3, I'm going to take the over. Because it's not just one tackle. I think he's your swing. So I think they'll put him at right or they'll put him at left. I think he starts over 3 games. I wouldn't be surprised if he started close to half. It's just kind of where we're at right now with Fisher. And I don't feel bad about it. It's one of the number 1 recruits in the nation at Notre Dame. I'm very okay with it. Everybody's taking the over. Unfortunately, that's not a Bet US prop, but they do have a lot of props. Check out the description if you haven't. Derek Stingley plus 125. Frank Ross, man, it's my boy. Love me some Frank Ross, one of the best special teams coaches in the league statistically the last few years. But, man, he's stressed out. I'm worried about Frank, man. He just goes 100 miles per hour. And today he was asked about just the overall layout of the new kick. Like, look at how stressed he is. Look at this guy. Like, does that look like a guy that is having fun? Where's that Frank Ross smile? I know times are tough, but I mean, come on, Frank. Here's Frank Ross talking about the new kickoff rules.
It was such a learning experience. Every coaching staff I had a bunch of people reach out to me. It felt way different than practice in my estimation, my opinion. Hey, how fast do we really run and hit? Hey, how fast do these blockers get on you? How fast do these cover players get on top of their blocks? So it felt tremendously different. We're able to go back and people were the guys doing it were able to say, oh, like, here's how that really feels. So as much as you go live in practice, pads on, we've had those training camp periods where it's full team kick return and we're padded, but you don't really finish on the ball carrier. And, that was our first time doing that. So,
man,
we learned a lot. And I think individually, what are those blocks?
Man, he ain't sleeping, man.
Blocks look like? It was a huge gaining learning experience. And every team across the league is about to feel that is going to play for the first time this weekend. So there's a lot to adjust and continue to move forward.
Yeah, Frank. Yeah, man. Look how he is depressed. Sheesh. Feel bad for him, man. Feel bad for him. Go from being one of the best special teams coaches in the league to now you got to do all this extra stuff. So in the spirit of Frank Ross stress, I think he needs it.
High-grade marijuana called Kush on the street.
Coaches
Did you know what that was?
Now I
Me
do.
neither.
Coaches don't have to pee in cups, do they? Do they? I think Frank might need a little Marihucci, man. Look at this guy. I mean, does this guy look like he's having fun? I mean, he's back home. He's back home practicing. Look at this guy. Man, spirit has been crushed. Cody Stoots, he's live in Ohio. He joins us now here on the show. Boots on the ground out there. His flight's smooth as ever. Cody, what's up with Frank Ross? Is he okay?
He was in great spirits. I mean, don't let the questions about the kickoff fool you. I mean, he was pumped to be back in his neck of the woods. He's from about 50 minutes away in Youngstown, and he was bragging about taking the specialists out to places that he liked to eat here in Cleveland. So he's pumped. It's funny you say that about the marijuana. Today actually is the first day that recreational marijuana is legal in the state of Ohio.
Nice. You going to the store?
There was a line wrapped around the building for the dispensary not too far from where I'm staying. I was
Go check it out, man.
It was very interesting to see. I mean, they've had medical marijuana in Ohio for a few years, I guess, but recreational first day today. What a random start to medical or recreational marijuana Tuesday in August.
That's sick, dude.
Yeah,
I'm surprised you're not there.
I gotta work first.
Well, sometimes it helps you work, man.
Work hard, play hard. Not me. It makes me a melt.
Sometimes it helps you get done, man. You know, you never know.
Not me.
So what happened with this Diggs situation? That's what a lot of people were talking about. Another Jimmy Ward physical display, or what? What are we looking at with this Stefon Diggs thing?
So Ward and Diggs both went up for the ball at the same time. So the pass was a little high, and Diggs goes up for it, and then Ward arrived as the football was arriving, but and he didn't have to hit Stefon Diggs the way he did. And then they both came down, and Diggs was laying on the ground for a while, and I couldn't tell if at first I thought Diggs got hit in the nuts, but once the trainers were over there and he's not, and I mean the male reaction when you get hit in the nuts is you hold it a little bit. You're like, oh,
it's easy to see.
Yeah, but he wasn't doing that, and I was like, oh no. So like, what happened? Did he get the wind knocked out of him? I was worried it was ribs just because of where the contact was and kind of how they hit, and then how they, how Diggs went to the ground. I was worried it was going to be something with his ribs, but he was able to get up. He walked off. He sat on a bench by himself there for a minute with one of the trainers. And then the next time the first team offense was out there, when the next team period started, he ran back out there. He was actually out there before the team period ended, and then he was back in the huddle shortly after that. So, but it gave me flashbacks of last year when Jimmy Ward knocked Dalton Schultz out of practice for a few days.
Yeah, and I mean, or flashbacks to when he ran over Diggs like a week ago.
Right.
So what happened with Titus Howard? Titus Howard, for the second time in camp, he goes to the medical tent.
Tough to say because I didn't necessarily see anything from Howard, but he was walking off the field. He walked to the medical tent. He walked to the cart. Now, he was not carted off. I think that's he left on a cart. Just the way where the practice field is, it's kind of like down a little hill. If a guy's hurt, it makes sense to have him leave on a cart. He looked to be walking fine. He just was walking a little slow. So, we're not supposed to speculate, but and he wasn't in the blue tent for a long time before it was, that's it. He's done. I mean, he came out of the blue tent, sat down on a bench and started taking his tape off. So, I mean, they knew pretty quick that he wasn't going to play. I mean, the fact that he was walking okay, that it's not some sort of lower body thing, and that he wasn't in grimacing or in any kind of pain, you speculate maybe a concussion or something like that. And that's, certainly a lot easier to navigate than he broke his hand in training camp last year. So,
Jeez, okay.
So
Smith doesn't like that one. Good Lord.
What?
Minimizing the concussion. Goodness gracious.
The return to practice is easier for a concussion than it is for a broken hand. Jake Hansen and Lonnie Johnson were in their jersey today, warmed up and participated in a little portion of practice. And they were in concussion protocol. So, it's the return to practice is easier for a concussion than it is for a broken hand.
So what else stuck out? Derek Stingley, couple of interceptions. That's the word on the street.
I mean, the first, I can't figure out which. I think the first one was more impressive than the second one. The second one looked like the defense ran a play that they knew if they gave CJ Stroud that look, that he did walk off the field. And then he walked into the tent, and then he left the practice area on a cart.
Yeah, that's what Titus said. He said, dang, I thought I walked off the field.
Well, if he's confused about how he left the field, perhaps that leads credence to my concussion theory. But no, I mean, look, he left the practice area on a cart, but he walked off the field into the medical tent. So.
Yeah, I mean, but he left on a cart.
Yeah, he left the practice area on a cart, but his day was done. So, once they'd figured out he wasn't practicing anymore. Okay, so the first Stingley interception, it was him and Collins on the right side, and the pass wasn't great, but Stingley had it. I mean, the pass could have been pinpoint, and Stingley would have been there. He just kind of battled Collins for position and ended up getting it, and then. The second one, I think that they kind of baited CJ Stroud into making a throw that they knew he was going to make because they didn't really rush anybody. It was like a 2 or 3 man rush, and the offensive line handled it easy. But they had a lot of guys in zone. Stuff over the middle was covered, and CJ just kind of whipped right and sent it over to Tank Dell. And Stingley just, like he knew it was coming, ran in there, ripped it out of the air. And then actually, I thought this was probably one of the cooler things. He literally has just caught the football. Like, he's got it in his hands, and he turns around and looks at Tank Dell and then takes off. Like, it was just like, he just read it like a book. It was awesome. He's one of the best players on the field every single day. It's hard to get open against him. Even when you're Stefon Diggs or Nico Collins or Tank Dell, it's not easy. I almost wonder if he got a little upset with how one-on-ones went down. Because he got turned around a couple times. Robert Woods put him in a blender in one-on-ones.
Oh, wow. Robert Woods had another really good day. He's alive.
He's alive. He's very alive. He is not going quietly in this wide receiver competition.
So I actually brought this up, and this one's brought to you by BetUS. Derek Stingley's 125-1 to win Defensive Player of the Year.
That's
people are like, well, that's not going to happen. You're not going to bet on his health. I'm like, it's $125.
Yes,
for $1.
That's a sprinkle. That's a easy sprinkle with our friends at BetUS.
That's a open an account with the link below and sprinkle a little something. And then I think Will Anderson is 45-50 to 1, and Danielle Hunter. I mean, the Derek Stingley's there. The other one.
The Hunter one's really intriguing to me.
I think the Kamari Lassiter is kind of interesting.
Defensive
rookie of the year.
D-Roy, that's a good one too.
Because he's going to have 6 primetime games. So he's going to have 6 primetime games. If he performs well, they're not going to throw at Stingley, so they're going to throw at you. You're going to have opportunity. And it's 40-1.
I like
You're
that.
starting at corner. It's not like there's any lockdown guys.
I like that. What I really like is you got so many different things that you can get with BetUS. They got everything. So
yeah. No, I was talking about the 125. I think it's
Lassiter didn't practice today.
What's going on there?
Nothing to update. There's nobody knows anything about it just yet. D'Amico Ryans yesterday when he got asked about the injured guys, and he kind of does this most times when you get asked about injured guys, he just kind of brushes it off. Oh, they'll be fine. Like, okay, all right. So I don't necessarily worry about a guy like Lassiter until it's 3-4 days in a row. The scary part is it's not just Lassiter that missed; it's Jeff Okudah as well. So that's cornerback 2 and cornerback 3 in the pecking order that missed.
But that's a good opportunity for Henderson because you already know Okudah and Lasser, assuming it's not serious. You already know they're on the squad.
Yes. So, I mean, Henderson Henderson came off the edge on a cornerback blitz that, I mean, he'd have sawed Davis Mills in half if he'd been a live rep. Stingley came on a corner blitz today too, and would have just murdered the quarterback if it was a live rep. So that was not well blocked in that moment. But yeah, so no Lassiter, no Will Anderson again today. Obviously, we know no Tunsil, no Mixon, no Harris. Those guys just haven't been out there. And I'm trying to think if there's anybody else missing. I have it written down over here. I took attendance today to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Brooks Urbina?
Yeah, I took the roster and was no Brevin Jordan.
Yeah, it's second day.
Obviously, no Tegan Quintiriano. He's hurt from the preseason game. No Charlie Heck. He's got a foot injury. And then no Tim Settle and no Danico Autry. Tim Settle, conversing with some of the other people that are here, Tim Settle's been missing for a few days. It just took me till today to notice it, though.
He had a couple days before, I would say. It wasn't too bad. But
I would tell you at least Khalil Davis is ahead of him, and then obviously Foley Fatukasi and Mario. My God, they just beat on Juice Scruggs and Kenyon Green like a drum sometimes, those two guys. And then Fatukasi,
they need it.
Fatukasi got Shaq Mason and Titus early in practice too. Like, I mean,
Fatukasi's been good.
That defensive tackle duo absolutely has a chance to replicate and potentially improve on what Rankins and Collins did last year.
Now, or is the interior of the offensive line scary? That is the question. That is what will play out.
I'm not. I mean, Kenyon Green left practice early and didn't go back in. I mean, I say left, like he was on the sideline. He just didn't go back in at the latter part of practice. I think he's got like a stomach bug. We mentioned the puke and rally yesterday. Saw him kind of gesturing to his stomach today. So I don't know that that's going well for him. But
maybe that Cleveland grub, dude. Did you grub yesterday?
I did not get to go to your pizza place because there's a 2.5 hour wait.
Wow, slime ball.
Well, what am I supposed to do? Wait 2.5 hours for pizza? I'm not going to do that.
You're supposed to go early, like I told you to.
I'm working, so I mean, I can't go. I can't.
You're supposed to go around 4.
I'm here to work, not to eat pizza.
Oh, okay. Did you go back to that burger place?
No, I went and ate pizza at a different place.
Oh, okay. Should the Texans trade for Justin Simmons? I'd
sign him. You mean?
Should they sign Justin Simmons? Excuse me. I just, I don't really care whether a contract has or hasn't been offered. It doesn't. I don't care. I mean, I guess it would show that they're interested. You've watched the safeties. We know the safeties. Should the Texans sign Justin Simmons? Yes or no?
No. I mean, I believe he's a better player than some of the guys that they have, but the way that they have their safety room set up, they seem to really like it. And you don't want a square peg round hole thing. And Simmons is going to walk in. He's not being a role player or a rotational player.
Well, if he comes here, he's not a rotational player.
That's what I'm saying. He's not going to. They're kind of using that safety spot. Like Jimmy Ward's a starter, and then when Petrie's walking down with as a nickel corner, then Eric Murray's on the field. Is Justin Simmons better than Eric Murray? Yes. Is he better than Ward and Petrie? Yes. But if they wanted Justin Simmons, I feel like they'd already have Justin Simmons, or we know that they want Justin Simmons. Like they've got 5 guys that haven't missed any time at safety, and
two of them had season-ending injuries last year, and the other one, and another one has been banged up for a long, long time, and the other one wasn't playable.
I'm not going to dispute the fact that they've had injury history. I'm just talking about as far as in training camp. Like they have not seen anything in training camp that makes them feel like they have to have Justin Simmons, which that would be my thing is if you have to have him, go get him. But I can't imagine that they've looked at their safety spot and feel like we have to have Justin Simmons. If they had to have Justin Simmons, they would have got him in March when he was available. April when he was available.
I mean, whether they have to or not. I mean, so do you feel? I don't care what they say. I mean, you ask them about the safeties. What the hell you think they're going to say? They suck. Like they said, Dameon Pierce was good all of last year, and in their actions showed that he wasn't playable. So of course they're going to say that. Like sometimes you can factor in what a coach says. You can say, okay, well, there's that, but they're not going to come out and say we think our safeties stink.
Well, I mean, I'd have signed Justin Simmons in April, so it's a different conversation for how I think versus how they think. I'm trying to
I'm asking you. I'm not asking them. I'm not asking you to predict it. I'm not asking you like call your shot and say they're going to sign him because I agree with you there. I'm saying should they?
Well, I'd sign Justin Simmons and make Eric Murray a depth player, get rid of MJ Stewart, and make Petrie a slot corner.
Yes, I would too. And I'm not overly like if you ask me the position that I'm the most concerned about, safety is number one.
Desmond King didn't practice today too, by the way. That's slot corner news.
Well, there you go. So the cornerback is a little bit thin.
Yep.
But I feel really, really weird about the safety position.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jimmy Ward's injury history alone should make you question what they can accomplish this season.
Yes, and I don't think you can overcome. Like I think you could overcome like a suspect D line. I even think you can overcome average O line play, and maybe suspect CB2 play. But I don't think you can overcome issues at safety. I don't think there's really any masking it. I guess you could say the pass rush. I don't feel comfortable with that. Like I'm looking back there and I found myself in like the moment when I really was just like, damn, was when I looked back and I was like, damn, Eric Murray looks good. And I was like, what the hell am I saying? Like he's with the ones. He's the starting safety.
They like Eric Murray a lot.
But do they like him that much?
They like him enough that Justin Simmons in on this team right now.
I mean, he's probably chilling. He probably doesn't want to be in camp.
Well, that's fine. You don't have to. I mean, you can get signed and not have to show up for a few days. I mean, Laramie Tunsil's one of the most expensive left tackles in football. He's not been in camp yet.
Well, he's been in camp.
He hadn't made his training camp debut. He's
he might not even
working out on the side.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like he might just sit out the whole damn.
Is there Simmons feels like a guy that's translatable across like any system. So it's not like it's a system conversation. So I mean there has to be something that they don't.
I mean, he's probably weighing his options, man. He's got that luxury.
Yeah, sure. Maybe they're not interested until he's interested in practicing. I mean, they have 9 practices left in training camp and 3 preseason games. So
Titus Gate, by the way, is Titus capping. He said he's talking about the card. I think he's responding to Jonathan Alexander saying that he got carted off the field or whatever. I think Jonathan Alexander, I don't know how he worded it, but he just said that he was leaving in a cart after being in the tent. He said.
So he left the practice area, but he walked off the field, if we're being technical, which it seems like maybe Titus is doing.
Yeah. But it's at least he's confident enough to do that, so he must feel fine.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a real bad concussion, I probably wouldn't be looking at my phone. So
what else? What else do we got that stuck out in practice today?
I mean, Danielle Hunter just annihilated people. He's back at practice, and I think it was the second play of teams, and he just rips through Howard and Shaq Mason, and he's in there to tackle the running back in the backfield for like a 6-yard loss. Like it was, I mean, I will say though, after Titus left, Nick Broker got matched up against Danielle Hunter, and I was thinking, oh, this poor guy's got no shot. Broker actually was able to put together a couple of wins against Danielle Hunter late in practice. But I mean, Hunter there's a different presence to the defensive line when he is out there. And then Derek Barnett, he's the backup defensive end for this team with Autry out, and he's out there.
He's always there, man.
He's just
always there.
Matt Burke brought up a good point. I asked him about Derek Barnett, and he said that with the exception of Brandon Graham and maybe like one other defensive lineman, that Derek Barnett has more snaps in this attack front that they run along the defensive line than just about anybody in the league. And so the experience and him being healthy right now has led to him really just kind of taking off here in training camp and being a real important piece for their defensive line.
I thought it was kind of telling yesterday how, it was the first time that you didn't have Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson on the field, and it was CJ's best day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's
the interior was the problem today and not the edges. I mean, obviously Hunter had a couple of wins and so did Barnett, but CJ was like off balance, like trying to throw it over guys sitting in his lap. Like they had one play where they tried to run a play action and Foley Fatukasi basically like was there to tackle CJ before the play action was even done being run. So it's like they got to block better on the interior.
Yeah, and I think that they also got to block better on the outside too. I think I do want to see just how Laramie Tunsil looks whenever the game actually begins. Like, is there going to be any rust? Titus, I'm not sure how good Titus has really performed in practice. I like to grade on a curve because of the guys that he's going against, but it's not like he's just sticking out or anything like that. Like I don't watch it and say, okay, that's a top 5 right tackle, which maybe I'm just kind of holding the contract a little bit too much against him.
Yeah, there's maybe a little bit of that. He hasn't lived up to the contract or played to that level just yet. He has his fair share of wins against Hunter. It's Hunter's got more wins against him than Howard does against Hunter, but the edges, I'm not as worried about the edges as I am of the interior. Just Kenyon Green and Juice Scruggs, this is their first year playing in this system at that position. Like obviously Scruggs was going to be the center, but he played left guard in the season. And then Kenyon Green hasn't played hardly at all at left guard in this system. So that's kind of, you circle the 2 spots there. That's the weak points. And then if you don't feel good about the edges, in addition to those 2 spots, all of a sudden that offensive line gets a little scary for you.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Is there anything else that we missed?
Calen Bullock had
pick
probably would have been a pick 6.
Pick 6 against Davis Mills.
Yeah, and he ripped the ball away from Mechie in the air to do it.
Yeah, he's been he's made some plays. I do wonder, how he factors into this safety thing, how comfortable they feel with the possibility of him being a play away. Because they've shown that Lassiter and Fisher they trust immediately. I do wonder, like Calen Bullock, how comfortable are they with that?
If he had to be the 4th safety, I feel like they'd be okay with it. I don't know that they'd want him to be necessarily the 3rd safety, but if he had to be the 4th safety right now, I feel like they should be totally comfortable with that. But MJ Stewart's had a decent camp too, so it wouldn't be the easiest thing in the world to get rid of him.
They love him.
Play special teams, gets dirty in stopping the run. Like, I mean, he does everything that you'd want out of a backup safety.
All right, man. Appreciate you for rolling through. It's been fun. Enjoy Ohio. One more day out there.
One more day. I'll be back tomorrow night, God willing. The airplanes take care of me.
Yeah, well, you never know with that. I've heard.
I choose to not spiritually fly.
Yeah. I understand. Unless it's free buy or non-existent. All right, that's Cody Stoots here in the locker room, live from Ohio, with a little bit of an update of what went down. So, should the Texans trade for Justin Simmons? I am in favor of it. I think it would be a smart decision. Not trade. Should they sign Justin Simmons? Excuse me. Should they sign Justin Simmons? I would say yes. I think they could improve the safety position. You like your guys, we'll push them back further on the depth chart. I would be okay with that. Stefon Diggs, okay, a little bit scary. Titus Howard, a little bit scary, but don't say that he got carted off, or else you're going to get called out on the Twitter sphere. Derek Stingley remains freaking awesome. 2 interceptions. Calen Bullock makes a play, and the wide receivers continuing to do their thing. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. Reminder, if you want to gamble this year, BetUS is your top resource for sports gambling. They got all the props, including the Derek Stingley 125-1. You can even bet on the game this Friday against the Steelers. It's a pick 'em, and eventually the halftime line will come up as well. So go in the comments, in the description, use that link and you'll get plus 125%. So you'll get you put $1 in, you're going to get $1.25 with you back, and you can continue the game. You can do that up to 3 times as 'tis the season of gambling. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, whether they're signing Justin Simmons or not, whether Stefon Diggs and Jimmy Ward are mixing it up or not, we're all in this together. Thanks for coming through.
Every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give. We got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every